Hello and welcome to Thoughts on Film. I'm your host, Eric, and for today's episode, I'm joined by a very special guest. Excited for you to hear our discussion on all 9 movies and shows from the MCU for 2021. We had a lot of fun discussing it, and I hope you enjoy this video. If you enjoy it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have a lot of plans for the future of this channel, including top 10 videos, video essays, movie reviews, and show reviews, and a few different things. But without further ado, let's get into the show. Today's episode, we are going over the 9 MCU projects from 2021. That includes all of the shows from Disney Plus and the movies. And today I'm accompanied by my cousin and friend, Mark.
Hello.
And Mark is a big MCU fan, so I definitely had him in mind when thinking about this video. So I'm excited to get into our thoughts. I'll just let Mark start with his number 9.
Okay, number 9 for me is Hawkeye.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, let's hear it.
I could be convinced to move it. Like all these, I didn't dislike any movie or show from this year. So they could all move, but Hawkeye was the only reason I put it so low is because it kind of couldn't figure out what it wanted to say. It was like 5 different stories over the course of it. So you had like a watch thing that didn't really matter forever, and you had like a big build up to Kingpin for him to be there for 30 seconds and then pretend to kill him. So that kind of stuff bugged me. But otherwise, I still enjoyed it. It was fun to watch. So it's not like it was bad or anything, but I think it's the one I least enjoyed of all of them.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. There were a lot of like random plot threads that didn't really go anywhere. I agree, though. That was something I wanted to say. I don't think there was a bad movie or show from Marvel this year. I think they're all good, which is awesome. So,
especially for 9 in a year.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
That's for my number 9, I'll just put What If because I didn't watch it.
That's not fair.
Well, I'll just put it in the I didn't watch category.
Okay, so what's your lowest then, without What If?
So yeah, moving on to my 8th is Falcon and Winter Soldier. And again, I liked this show. It wasn't something I disliked, but for me, the first couple of episodes felt like the tone didn't know what it was trying to do. Like it felt really like buddy cop almost, but then it got like super like political thriller, kind of like Winter Soldier, but then it would like go to like this kind of like wacky relationship thing, and it just felt like, I don't know, for me it wasn't quite working in the beginning, but once it got to episode 3, then I started enjoying it. So just kind of took a minute to get going for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that made me put it above Hawkeye was that it felt like it had something more to say than Hawkeye did. And it kind of stuck to it a little bit more, not perfectly, like they went off random things too, but it had more of a through line to build up to. Are we putting spoilers in here?
Yeah.
Can I say what happens at the end?
Yeah, you can say anything.
To the buildup of him being Captain America.
Yeah.
Like that felt like they were building to that from the beginning. So I like that. But it did meander too. I think maybe they have an issue with longer storytelling, like longer form, that they throw in random stuff for too long. I don't know if that's the problem, but
yeah, I think so. Like, and maybe it's stuff they want to resolve in like another season, maybe. But yeah, there is kind of like a lot of random. It feels like time filling stuff almost.
Yeah. Which is sad for a 6-episode thing, because they fill out 13 episodes in a Daredevil show, and then they had that problem too. But you would think in 6 episodes they wouldn't have that problem, but they still do.
Right. And like you said, maybe they're just trying to figure it out. I'm sure as they keep cranking these shows out, they'll have a more like concise story.
So my 8 is Loki.
Okay, wow. Let's hear it.
I liked Loki a lot. It had too many plot holes for me. Like they could have deleted them instead of saving them off that planet. That really bugged me. Like, why are you saving them when your whole point was to kill them?
Yeah.
Um, but I really liked the premise of it and everything. It was really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
So I liked most of it. I didn't really care for Sylvie or their
Yeah.
relationship. I that didn't do anything for me, and it didn't
Okay.
really feel earned. But other than that, I really liked it. So that just inches it above Hawkeye for me because it was still interesting and cool and had interesting ideas. It
Yeah.
just didn't quite stick what they were going for with relationship stuff, and they were really smart about the apocalypses to avoid being like caught by the TVA.
Yeah.
And then
That
after
was good.
that, they had like dumb things where they're like, oh, we're going to pretend they're going to die, and then we're just going to come save them, even though we want them dead. So that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that I honestly I don't even remember a lot of that show. It is higher on my list, but um, I can see what you're saying. Like it was a lot of like really big ideas, and for me, I think it worked for the most part. But I agree, the relationship thing wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
But I'll touch back on that a little later.
Okay.
Um, so my number 7 is Black Widow.
Okay.
Um, again, I liked this movie. The longer it's been since I've watched it, I just haven't really remembered much from it, or nothing's really stood out to me. It's kind of been forgettable a little bit. Um, I liked the character of Yelena a lot, her little sister. I mean, Florence Pugh, I really like. I thought David Harbour's character was really good. Uh, but I
Did
just
you like
didn't.
her more after Hawkeye or from Black Widow?
I thought she was great in both.
Okay.
Did you like her, dislike her more in one?
I liked her more after Hawkeye. I mean, I liked her fine in Black Widow, but
Yeah,
I liked her more after Hawkeye for some reason. Like I think it was her and Kate Bishop together
yeah,
really worked.
yeah. They had good
Yeah.
chemistry for sure. Um, and I thought like, is she? I don't even know if she's from the comics. I feel like she isn't.
Yelena,
Yeah,
she is,
she
but
is.
she's a villain.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I read is that she was originally the antagonist of Black Widow
Really?
and then they changed it. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So, um, they definitely did their own take on it. And for
Yeah.
me, I mean, I'm not familiar with Black Widow comics, but it worked for me. Like their relationship between Natasha and Yelena was really good. But I think the part that I didn't love was the ending where they're just like falling out of a satellite or something. And yeah, I don't know. The ending just wasn't my favorite.
Can I ask you about the thing that everybody hates?
Oh, the Taskmaster.
Taskmaster.
Yeah, like he's just, I mean, I guess in this it was a she, but in the comics the character is a lot cooler, so it just kind of felt like a waste to me. But I didn't really care that much, but I feel like they could have used her better. I don't know, what did you think?
um, yeah, I don't have any. Like I've seen Taskmaster in the Spider-Man game. That's it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know
Okay.
anything about him,
Yeah.
but um, I just give it the benefit of the doubt that they'll bring him back or her back. They have the
Yeah,
technology to do that thing to anybody. Um,
that's
so
true.
I figure that that's going to happen again at some point, but I could be wrong.
No, I bet you're right, and that would be interesting to see for sure. Um, I think the cool thing about the character is like he or she can just copy like any move set or like ability. Well, not necessarily a power, but like if he sees Shang-Chi fighting, he could just fight exactly like him. So I think
Yeah.
that that has cool possibilities for just action scenes. So I hope they bring her back.
7, Falcon and Winter Soldier.
All right.
And for all the same reasons you were saying, it's on the lower end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But uh, the part that worked for me that made me put it above Loki and Hawkeye is the Isaiah Bradley stuff.
Okay.
The part where he gets him his own thing in the Captain America Museum, his own memorial.
That's
That
cool.
always gets me. Yeah, and the whole ending with the Captain America suit and
Yeah.
all of that stuff just kind of pushes it over those two for me, even though it still has problems just like the other two.
Yeah. No, I agree. I liked Isaiah Bradley, and I definitely liked the John. Is it John Walker?
Yeah,
I thought he was interesting. It was like it was fun to see what a government controlled like PTSD soldier would do with the formula. So I thought
yeah,
that was well done. Um,
I agree.
but yeah.
I bet he does look like Carl Fredrickson in the helmet until he starts growing a beard, and then he looks a little better.
He totally did.
I don't know if he just doesn't have the face for a helmet. I don't know if Chris Evans is just really good at pulling off that weird helmet, but
Must be like,
everybody looks goofy in it.
yeah, I know I would look terrible in it, so
I would
it, it,
too.
it must be Chris Evans is just, superhuman.
Maybe.
My number 6, I have WandaVision,
Okay.
and um, for me, this one's tough. Like I struggled where to place this because I loved the show right up until the end. Um, I think one thing that it did that was important is it taught us to not go crazy with expectations because the internet was
Are you
wild.
talking about Ralph Boner?
Well, just like all the Mephisto stuff and like
Oh yeah.
there was just so many wild theories and we were all just like, yeah, that's gonna happen. Or at least I thought that.
I
um,
did too.
so I think it
I
was
thought that
important.
Magneto was going to show up
Oh
and
yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And but so I think it was important that it kind of showed us like, hey, don't get too crazy. Like there's only so much they can do in one show, right? But on the other hand, what I really disliked with the ending, it wasn't even the Ralph Boner thing. I didn't love that, but the big thing I didn't like was that it just felt like everything just fizzled out and there were no consequences. Like she basically enslaved a town for like a whole month and then she just leaves and they're like, okay. I don't know.
Yep.
It just like I would have liked
Yeah.
to see more come like more discussion at least or like of the impact that had. That was my big complaint, but I still liked it and it was really unique for sure.
Yeah. I
That was
agree. I'll save my thoughts on it for when I
okay.
get to it. My number 6 is Eternals.
Okay.
This one's hard to put in a ranking because it doesn't really, it's very different than the others.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to rank it. I just kind of ranked it based on how much I enjoyed it or how much I would go back to rewatch it,
Yeah.
which I don't think I would rewatch it that often. I've seen it twice.
Okay.
Um, yeah, everything worked. I have like no thing, like nothing in my head that's like, oh, I wish they'd done this. I wish they'd done that. Uh, I don't know the comics, so I have nothing like, how dare they do this?
Yeah.
I don't know. It is very big, and so it kind of makes you look at things differently.
Yeah.
So I like that part of it. I don't know why I put it lower. I think it's just because it's a little slow. It's a
Okay.
little more of a trudge through to get to to getting through it, rather than the rest are kind of fun to watch and something I
Right.
could just watch over and over.
No, I think that's valid. It's definitely, like you said, it's way different than your average MCU movie or show. But I'll save my thoughts on it. So my number five was Shang-Chi. This one was another one. I went back and forth. I really liked it a lot, except for the ending I didn't like. So what I loved about it was the beginning, and the first half was really like martial arts, like kung fu film inspired. It really felt like kind of like a Jet Li movie in a way. And I thought that
Mm.
was really cool because, it's playing to those roots of just Chinese film and what um what works for those. Like I thought the fight scene with the Mandarin and his mom was super cool. I thought the bus scene was really cool. But and I liked all the characters, it was great, but the ending for me just felt like a just generic CGI thing that I don't know, like they killed a Mandarin. Why would you kill him? He was a cool character. And then it just turned into like little dragons fighting a bunch of army people. I'm just like, uh, I don't know. I wish they would have kept it more focused and just had more of a kung fu fight at the end. And I think I would have liked it more. But I still, again, I enjoyed it. It was fun. And I'm excited to see what they do with the character.
Yeah, I I don't quite agree with you on that one, but I'll
Okay.
tell you why when we get to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Five is Black Widow. Put Black Widow higher, even though it's still, to me, all those bottom, what is that, five that I've said,
Hmm.
they're kind of, they're all kind of have their issues. They're all kind of just okay, or have their moments. Black Widow only edges out Eternals because I really like the. This is going to sound horrible. I don't mean I liked it to watch it, but I like them going for the idea of child trafficking and all of that.
Oh, okay.
I
You
like them
liked
going for that. I
that?
like that they didn't shy away from saying something horrible.
Yeah.
Um, they definitely made what's the guy's name? Dracoff. He was
The
like
villain.
Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
they
I
had
don't
him
remember his
like in all
name.
these pictures of like political figures and things, and
Yeah.
having influence. It was like a Jeffrey Epstein thing. And
Yeah.
then at the end, she like rescues all of these and like trapped kids. I really liked all that stuff that they had in there. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, it was kind of just fun to watch.
No, I think those are good points.
Yeah, and I liked David Harbour as the Red Guardian.
Yeah.
He was he was fun.
Yeah, he was
Um,
good.
and the mind control stuff they got from Winter Soldier and how they tied all that stuff in, I liked all that stuff. But the falling satellite thing, like you were talking about, yeah, it was over the top. So yeah, they had us over the top stuff. Like there's no way she would have survived a few of these things. Like that
Yeah.
car blowing up and just falling under, and they just roll out. They were bleeding, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not to the level. It's not to the level of Kylo Ren blowing up in a TIE fighter and then just walking away.
Yeah. Oh man. Last thing I'll say about Black Widow is I thought for like the first half it really had kind of like a Jason Bourne vibe, which I really liked. But then
Yeah.
the satellite in the sky kind of stopped that. But
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, she was watching what's it called? The James Bond movie with the moon.
oh really? Moonraker?
Moonraker. She was watching Moonraker when she was in hiding, and it has like a floating fortress in the sky. So they were
That's
they
funny.
were referencing James Bond a little bit.
Okay. That's cool. I didn't notice that. For
Yeah.
my four, I chose Loki. And I think the biggest reason I chose Loki, especially above WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, is because it felt like it had a lot of importance to the larger MCU, just with all the multiverse stuff, at the end. And I don't know, I guess WandaVision had kind of bothered me that there wasn't many like effects, so I was hoping for something like that. And to me, Loki really kind of gave me that. I will agree there were some kind of weird plot holes. It's just enjoyable, and I really like Owen Wilson. So
Yeah, he was great.
yeah, so yeah, like
And the
it
guy that
was.
played Kang, he was really interesting and great too.
Yeah, I liked his performance. I'm excited to see the differences in Kang versus whatever what was he like, the man at the end or something?
He who remains.
Oh yeah.
He who must
Yeah.
not be named. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I liked all those things. It was just those little nitpicks that bugged me just a little bit more.
Yeah.
That made me put it a little lower.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My number 4 is What If.
Okay. Wow, it's pretty high.
And yeah, that might be weird to a lot of people. I thought the show was like if somebody was just given an action figure of every Marvel character that existed in the movies and shows and just
Uh-huh.
said, go crazy. And they went crazy and they made some really interesting, cool things. And it ended on a thing, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but it ended on a thing that you would never have ever seen in any show or movie that just, it just made me so happy. And I
Wow.
know you've seen the trailers with zombies and stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's something they would never do.
right.
And doing that as a cartoon, even, I mean, it was just fun to watch and it was really interesting. And it being canon, and now they've opened the multiverse, these things can come into the movies when they want to. So they
Right.
can make these crazy stories that they can't get the actors anymore or whatever, but they can still bring in those elements into other shows and movies. So I'm expecting some things from the show to show up in Doctor Strange. And yeah, I'm excited about that. And that not all the episodes work. They're very standalone. Like some are better than others. Some are like the Peggy Carter one is such a repeat of Captain America that it's
Mm,
almost boring.
really.
So I like some more than others, but the way it ended was just so good that I I don't know. It just pushed it above because it was just so much fun to watch.
Okay. Yeah, I know we talked about it when it came out. I definitely want to watch it more now just because it is, I mean, the trailer for Doctor Strange kind of, shows the evil Doctor Strange, so it's
Yeah.
definitely canon. Um, and so I definitely want to give it a shot. I don't know, for some reason, animation sometimes I can't get into it. I did watch one episode actually. It was the one where Hank Pym is just killing all the Avengers, and I liked that one.
Yep. That was interesting.
Yeah, like it was a cool idea, and they weren't, they could do whatever they wanted, like you said, like they could just kill
Yeah, killed
most of the
everybody.
Avengers.
And killing
So
Hulk in such a weird, interesting way that
yeah,
was enlarging his heart.
that was
And
cool.
like having Mark Ruffalo actually be in the old Incredible Hulk movie, like I liked all that stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't Ed Norton.
that's right. That was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, no,
They, they
go
also
ahead.
do that with Rhodey, Don Cheadle in the first Iron Man.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Nice. That's kind of smart of them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've only heard good things about it, so definitely have to check it out.
I agree with you though. A lot of the animated spin-off shows aren't very good. Like I haven't liked most of them.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have high expectations for this show. And when it started, I wasn't too jazzed about it because it starts with the Peggy Carter episode.
Hmm.
And it wasn't bad or anything. It just felt like if this is what the idea is to take a character from the like a movie, like say MJ becomes Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
just do the Spider-Man story with MJ being Spider-Man. It's like the same movie.
Yeah, we've already seen it.
So, but otherwise, they all were interesting and cool. And then they got to be more interesting as they went. And they also, I should be fair, they did things that really bugged me because
Okay.
you're going so far out there. They're going to do some things that make me annoyed at the past, like things like if you can do that, why didn't you do that from the beginning?
Yeah.
So that part's not great, but the rest of
Okay.
it's fun.
So my number three is Eternals. Kind of what you said are the reasons that I like it a lot. Um, just that it was unique and felt like a different experience. I don't know, a lot of people really didn't like this, but for me, I really liked that it was able to just be kind of slow at times. It allowed like because there was like what 10 characters? I don't know,
Yep.
maybe eight. Um,
There's 10, I think, 10 Eternals.
yeah, which is crazy. And not all of them felt very developed. There were a couple that I was just like, don't really care about that person. But I think for the
Who
most
were
part,
they?
what?
Who didn't you like? Who were they?
Oh, the ones that I just like didn't feel anything towards was Gilgamesh.
Mm-hmm.
Like his personality trait was he cooked a pie. And like
Yeah.
and when he died, I was just like, whatever. Like, but I
That's
don't know.
fair.
Like I kind of wished, and that's one of my critiques. Um, I thought there should have been at least one more death at the end to have more emotional stakes. But um, I don't know. Like one thing I really liked was kind of it had like these interesting moral dilemmas, like these interesting questions, like if there are these beings that are eternal and they're not allowed to interfere, like what kind of situations will that bring forth? Like especially the part where the Spaniards were, pillaging ancient, I think it was, Central America, and they're just kind of having to watch it happen. And there's kind of like a falling out with I can't remember the name of the character, but
Druig.
yes,
Druig,
thank
yeah.
Druig, the Irish one.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, like to me it was just like very interesting ideas to see how each character reacted to that, and then to see where they were in the future as well. Like he became like this crazy cult leader and like controlled people. I thought that was super interesting. And like Kingo was like this actor, and he pretended to be his grandfather and then his dad or whatever.
Yeah.
Like there were just like cool ideas for me that just really worked, and it was interesting enough to just really capture my imagination. And then also the other thing I really liked was the way it ended. It wasn't like a big army battle. It was just between the Eternals. And I thought Icarus, Richard Madden did a really good job just with his conviction. And for me, it was believable that he would just, do what he felt was right, even though he was basically killing people. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I have very coherent thoughts on it, but to me, it was just like unique enough and had enough interesting ideas that I enjoyed it.
You reminded me of a lot of the things I liked because I'd forgotten. Like I've seen it twice, but I still like when you bring up those things, I'm like, oh yeah, that was awesome. Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, okay.
Like Icarus was the one character when I was watching it that I was like, I don't know if he's a bad actor. I don't know what's going on. He's just stone faced all the time. And
Yeah.
then when it reveals why he's that way, I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And I really liked his whole arc, and then him flying into the sun and feeling regret because it was kind of regret about failing his makers, right? The Celestials. He
Yeah.
didn't want to fail them, and then he ended up giving in because of Cersei, and feels so much guilt about it that he flies into the sun and dies basically.
Yeah.
And he did kill Ajax too, so he probably felt guilt for that.
Right.
But I really liked all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't think there's any character I didn't like.
Yeah.
And
I liked all of them. There's so many that I felt like some weren't quite developed, but that's a lot to
yeah,
ask, for 10 characters.
Gilgamesh, I do feel like him being a protector of a
Tina.
crazy lady, basically. She was crazy, and
Yeah.
he was just protecting her. That made me like him, even though he
Okay.
did make a pie and make spit beer.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
yeah, I liked him. But they kind of had like this, him just being there to protect her and take care of her. So I kind of
Yeah.
liked him through her, but
Okay.
then she would attack him too. Um, so I don't know. It was kind of a back and forth thing there. She
Yeah.
didn't really have much there. I felt Thena. She was somebody that started out with mental conditions, so it was
Right.
hard to know who she was, to feel sad when she was losing. Although she acted it so well, it worked for. But it just, I felt like it might have worked better if we knew who she was beforehand.
Yeah, that's fair to have a little more context of what she was like. Um,
Yeah.
but I thought again, like the idea there, I think is super cool. Just like she has these like remnant memories from like a past self, and then they're just causing this like crazy conflict within her. I thought that was a super interesting idea. I really liked Sprite and how she had this like terrible being a child for thousands of years and just like how that affected her and her decisions. So there's just a lot of cool ideas there, and I think you're right. Gilgamesh did have some you know
A
redeeming qualities. I
little
just
bit.
felt like if you're gonna kill a character, it should be one that we're more invested in. But I don't know.
They who else? The Ajax died. Him,
That was it.
Icarus.
Oh, I guess
So
Icarus.
3 of the 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
So,
expect any of them to die when I went to it, so I was a little shocked.
yeah, me neither. And honestly, I didn't see it coming that Icarus would be evil. I know a lot of people said they
No,
saw it
me
coming,
either.
but I did not.
I
Like,
didn't either.
I mean, I
I thought
think
it'd be the deviant things.
right, which I was
Yeah.
glad because those things were lame. Like those weren't a
Yeah.
good enough villain. But
Even just the Celestials being the villain at the end was enough.
yeah,
But Icarus being the one that turned on him made it just a little bit more, I felt.
totally. Kind of like that
Yeah.
political feeling, almost like just like
Yeah.
turning on.
It was very thought a thoughtful movie. Like, how would you how would you behave if you were in this position? Like, if you were above humans and you could make the choice for all humans, would you just let them die because of all their past wrongdoings? You see, like Fastos with the atomic bomb.
Right.
Like, if I had lived through all that, I might let them die. You know?
Right. Like it's interesting ideas that make you think. And I feel like, I love MCU movies, but I feel like sometimes it is just kind of um they're not very thoughtful, some of them. And so for this one, it just felt refreshing to have kind of these concepts or these dilemmas that it presents you with.
You're almost making me want to move Eternals up, but I
Sweet.
won't.
Okay.
I won't for now. I'll have to think about it.
Okay.
Number 3, WandaVision.
Okay.
And now I don't really have a leg to stand on to make WandaVision 3 because I think Eternal should be moved up. But because I liked WandaVision a lot, it
Yeah.
had a lot of good stuff. I didn't like the ending like you.
Mm.
Um, that it was just the last episode.
Yeah.
Um, but the best episode of it, which I think is just like perfect, is when she goes back and relives all of her losses,
That
and
was
then
really good.
yeah, finds the deed that Vision made for her and goes to the house they were supposed to live in together. All that stuff was like the best thing they've done on Disney Plus TV shows, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but then the ending with the floating and the stealing magic and stuff, that I mean, it didn't really have a point,
Right.
except to give her costume and make her the Scarlet Witch, which was kind of cool. But and then I also really didn't like the Vision coming back as a White Vision. He doesn't ever die. He always comes back to life.
Yeah, he's
He's
died like
just another
3 times.
Loki. Yep. And then at the end, they had this whole thing of her letting him go, and I was like, she's done this 3 times or something. Like, I don't feel this. And he's like, we'll see each other again. I was like, yeah, I know you will, because you have every time. There's literally another white dude out there
Yeah,
that's floating around.
that's so true. Like that moment didn't have weight because it's like, oh, she's losing vision, but it's like we know that White Vision's there. Yeah.
Right. So those things undercut it, but it was so much like well done, like sitcom recreation,
Yeah.
and just the emotional part of it, which I think was the whole point of doing the show, worked so well that it made me put it up higher. But it also is on very shaky ground. I could move it very easy.
Yeah. Well,
So
actually,
yeah.
okay. Hearing you say that, because I kind of had forgotten some of that stuff. I think the ending kind of soured me a little, but I don't know if I thought about it more, I might move that one up. Because you're right, it did have a lot of really good moments. Just like looking into Wanda's like fractured mind was really interesting, and seeing like, you know, seeing her trauma and how she dealt with losing, the person she cared about the most, or the robot she cared about the most.
Yeah.
I think that's like a deep, pretty deep emotion that they went for, and I think for the most part it worked, like you were saying.
Yeah. I think it was good. I think I also felt like you when I was watching it, where I thought more was going to come out of it in the overall MCU. I
Yeah.
thought it was going to, like everybody was saying, mutants. I thought Magneto was going to show up, um, and so that also kind of bugged me, because I think it was Paul Bettany said there was the best cameo
Oh.
in the end, and it was himself.
Yeah.
And so that really threw me into me expecting something big,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, and it was the worst episode of all of them. So that made me sour at it too for a while.
Now that sucked that Paul Bettany said that. I forgot because the internet was so hyped.
Yeah.
He was just trolling.
Yeah, he's just being his sassy self and saying things that, like, just trying to be funny.
Yeah. Which, looking back, it is pretty funny actually. But
Yeah.
yeah, our lists are quite different. My number 2 is Hawkeye.
I know. I was thinking that. I was looking at him and I was like, what does he have higher?
These are like opposite lists. So for me, what I loved about Hawkeye was just the grounded tone. Like we had a lot of like kind of otherworldly shows and movies from the MCU this year, and then Hawkeye just was like, street level story, which I think for me, a lot of times the street level stuff stands out more. I don't know why. Like I love Daredevil, the show, Batman, but I just really liked the fight choreography. I really liked Kate Bishop's character. Thought she was super likable. And one thing that surprised me, I actually wasn't expecting anything from this show. Like I don't really like Hawkeye, but by the end of the show, I actually cared about Clint Barton, which I didn't care about him for like 6 movies. So I was just impressed that they actually made me care about a character that I thought I didn't like, and I just had a fun time with it. I agree that Kingpin should have been like a bigger deal. Like it just felt like a build up and then like a 5-second thing, and then it was just like, oh, did he die? I guess probably not though. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he didn't die. I
Yeah,
just wish they would show that he didn't die, because it's nobody believes he's dead.
yeah. Well, like, and if they did do that, there's no point to bring him back just to kill him. Like,
Right?
so yeah. But like, yeah, I think Kate Bishop was one of my favorite like new characters that they've introduced. So that was why I liked it so much.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Kate Bishop is probably one of the, trying to think of all the new shows and movies this year. I think Kate Bishop is probably the best new character they've had.
Yep, she's just like super likable. I mean, Haley Steinfeld's a great actress, so
Yeah, I agree. I just had a few more nitpicks, enough to make me put at the bottom of the list.
hey, that's fair. Like it's all subjective.
And I can't say I cared about Clint Barton at the end. I
Really.
I I didn't mind him before, so I never really didn't. I didn't dislike him, but I felt like everybody else where he's useless, right? He's just
Yeah.
the guy with the bow and arrow. But he didn't, to me, like he didn't have much of a storyline besides grieving over Black Widow, which I really liked that stuff. I really liked him grieving over Black Widow and all that stuff. But Yelena thinking that he had something more to do with it didn't really make sense to me. And all he
Yeah.
basically told her was what she should have already known from the beginning, except he added a whistle. That's fine.
Yeah.
And it really worked. That scene worked, though, to me. Like I heard one guy say it was like the Martha scene in Batman vs Superman, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that level. I think most of it worked. I just think it was very disjointed, and I really hated the LARPer crap.
Yeah, I did not like that. I agree. It's weird.
I'm just not going to buy that a bunch of cops and firefighters will dress up as LARPers to get people out of a building.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
put on your cop suit.
Oh yeah, one thing I was laughing about in the last episode is Jack, the sword master guy. He's just like killing people at the end.
I know.
Like,
it's like, oh, I got blood on my tie. Yeah.
Like, it just
the guy out here with the sword hacking people up.
Like, I was just like, oh wow, so is he a good guy? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It was funny.
I don't either. I think he's just a rich, spoiled dude that learned fencing and decided to cut some people up. We were all thinking it was going to be something so much bigger throughout. It was kind of a WandaVision thing.
Yeah.
Because I think in the comics he like trained Hawkeye or something. So
he's a villain in the comics.
Yeah, but he turns at some point and trains Hawkeye to use swords, I guess. So I was thinking maybe they're using this as a way of her connecting with her stepdad to have him train Kate.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe, and they might do that. It seemed like nobody cared that he killed a bunch of people.
Nobody cared that a bunch of tracksuit guys were blowing up all of New York either.
Yeah, that's
or
true.
Dropping a tree when Hawkeye has been jumping out of buildings, but he couldn't get out of a tree. So she knocks the whole tree down.
Yeah. Which I guess
it's fine.
Yeah. Like to me it was kind of like he's kind of getting older, he's aging.
Yeah.
Like I liked that he's kind of deaf. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I like that too.
Like it added. And I really liked the scene where he can't hear his son on the phone. Like to me that was like a big moment for his character because it actually was like, oh, you kind of get why he does what he does. So
I think I liked all of episode 3. That might have been my favorite one.
Yeah.
With the car chase and that whole and them kind of connecting for the first time, him and Kate, with him not being able to hear her. I really liked all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. That was the best episode. Best fight choreography too.
And the Pym arrow made me go, oh man, right out loud. It's like, I can't believe they did that.
Yeah, no, that was super cool.
My number 2 is Shang-Chi.
Okay.
And I think it was just because I liked that whole part you're talking about, the whole beginning. I liked all of that, set up the bus fight, the fight with his dad, or his mom and his dad, that eventually makes him turn. and then it does make a left turn into anime, which is fine with me. That's
Okay.
okay. Like Pokemon thing threw me for a minute, but like
Oh,
the Nine Tails and the
Ninetales, yeah.
Moltres in the sky. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, they're in Pokemon world. So they went from like Jackie Chan to Pokemon, and then Dragon Ball Z fight, which I'm sold with the Dragon Ball Z fight, which was
Okay.
the rings against the rings.
That was cool. I liked that fight.
Yeah, that was my favorite of all of it, and uh, mostly it was just him and his dad's relationship that made it over like above to me, because
Yeah.
that was great. Like just the way that he wasn't really a bad guy, he was just deceived, and because he was a bad guy, but his wife made him change his mind, and then she was all that mattered, and he forgot the rest of his family because she was the only one that mattered, because that's what he held on to make himself better. And
Right.
so then it made it worse. And then in the end, him finally seeing what he was doing to his family when it was too late and giving his rings to his son, I just felt like that was the best ending that they could have done. um, from there, it goes a little too long with the dragon fight, but watching it a second time, I feel like if they had ended it right after when his dad died, uh, it would have kind of cut short Shang-Chi's arc, where he had to take the rings and um, be the best of his mother and his father, and learn how to bring that together to save that, well, I can't remember what it's called, Tao Lo, from the
Um,
demon thing, the Pokemon place. So yeah, he shot the rings in, and he does like her like wind dance and then blasts it out of him.
yeah.
So he does like his dad and his mom's move, becoming the best of both of them. I really liked all that stuff, and I think it worked well.
Yeah, no, those are great
Yeah.
points. I hadn't thought of how he like combined his mother and his father's like, approaches to fighting. That's a really cool point. Um, and yeah, like honestly, that movie, I think it might have the best what's the word? Like it flows the best maybe out of the Marvel movies this year for me.
It does.
Like it's just a ton of fun the
Mm-hmm.
whole time. It's definitely like a just like a roller coaster, like you're just having fun. Um I think I agree. I loved the Mandarin, or I guess he's not called that in this. What was his name? I can't remember.
Wenwu.
Wenwu. I thought he was
Yeah.
super good. Like you said, like you see what he's been, like this kind of dictator for like thousands of years. I really liked how capable he was. Like you felt like he was a threat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but then you also had the dynamic of father and son, which was cool. Um, I just felt like what a waste to kill him immediately. Like I don't know. I wanted to see more of him, but I think what we saw of him was very good. Trevor in the final battle from Iron Man 3, he got annoying to me.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me that this super smart guy that's lived for thousands of years is just like banging on a cave door and like all these monsters are flying out and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's there."
Did he ever notice it? I don't think he ever noticed what was coming out of it.
Oh, did he? Maybe not.
I don't think he did until it grabbed him, when Shang-Chi kind of stopped him, because
Okay.
he was so like driven by his grief of his wife, which is all he cared about for since she died, which I think was like 20 years or something.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
bought that. If he didn't look up, I don't think he looked up.
Okay. All
Oh
right.
boy, I bet our number one's the same.
Wonder what yours is. I think this is going to be like 95% of people's number one, but
Yep.
I mean, Spider-Man.
Yep.
We've talked about Homecoming and Far From Home, right?
A little.
A
Yeah.
little. Okay. I'll
I
just
know
say,
that I know that you like the Tobey Maguire versions better.
yeah. So, and I'll just briefly touch on that. Like for me, I didn't love Homecoming and no Far From Home, and it was mainly because it felt like Peter didn't really want to be Spider-Man. Like it just felt like he just wanted to have fun and be an Avenger. Um, and so going into No Way Home, I didn't like love his character journey so far, but what No Way Home did, I really loved was it really kind of it tested his character. It put him through some dilemmas, like the whole thing where he decides to stop Doctor Strange from sending the villains back. To me, that's where the film really picked up because Peter was grappling with, should I let these terrible people die or not? You know, kind of having those like concepts that make you think instead of like the other two where he's just kind of having fun. To me, that's really why I loved this movie because by the end of it, Peter felt like like full on Spider-Man. Like he is, obviously he had the great power, great responsibility moment, which I thought worked really well. Um, and I was just super excited. That end scene with him, making his own suit, flying through New York, I was just loving that. Like it just felt like Spider-Man. Um, and then on top of it, seeing Andrew and Toby was just amazing for me. Like I thought they both did really good, and the villains for the most part, I Green Goblin was great, but I won't say everything. I'll let you go into your
Were you
thoughts.
expecting Mr. Dickovich to show up at the end?
I thought about it,
Rent.
but I'm glad he didn't because that moment was very like important for that Peter or for Tom Holland. It would have been
I
funny.
agree, but I literally heard somebody in the theater behind me like, "That's the same place. He's gonna be asked for rent." So, that was on my mind. And I was like, it's not the same place.
That would be too on the nose.
Yeah. um, I had kind of a up and down with this movie
Yeah.
because I came out of it being like, I thought that they were going to take Spider-Man and have all the MCU forget him and put him in a Venom movie. I thought that's where they were headed, and I was very annoyed, and I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And then it took me a minute to realize what they were really doing, and I think what they're really doing is leaving it open to do either or,
Yeah.
depending on how things work out.
Right.
So, but to do an either or situation where he becomes like the full-fledged Spider-Man that everybody knows, that is not a kid, that is a little more, has taken on the responsibility thing,
Yeah.
and not reliant on Tony Stark's technology and all of that.
Right.
I think that's smart, and I think that's what they probably were aiming to go to anyway. I don't think that they wanted to keep him in this young kid phase forever.
Yeah.
Um, so I really liked all of that, and I was a little bit overthinking things about, if you cure the villains, you send them back. What does that do to the timelines? I mean, I guess Loki kind of answered that, where things would just branch.
Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
which is fine, I guess. I just had to think about it. A lot of those bigger concept things I have to sit and think, because I'm quick to think of plot holes. Like Endgame, I had that too,
Yeah.
where the
Me
time
too.
travel stuff, I just had like, oh, that doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense. And eventually
Right.
I just have to like be like, did I like the movie or not?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
liked it. So I liked especially the Aunt May thing, the
Yeah.
Aunt May scene, and everything from that point to the end really was like just so much heavier than any Spider-Man, like MCU Spider-Man movie before,
Yeah.
which is something that I'm glad they went to, instead of him never having that. Every other Spider-Man movie, like before Tom Holland, was very heavy in the loss and grief and giving up. and he never did that really. He had a little moments where he'd be like, I don't want to go to a party,
Yeah.
um, or I don't want to go, I want to go to this opera with MJ and not help
Yeah.
Nick Fury. So they had those little things where he would still be tested with what he wanted to do and what he was going to do, and he would do it. But this
Right.
was the real test of it, and ultimately made him the true Spider-Man, which was what I felt was what made it work so well. And you would
Totally.
think it would be gimmicky with having the other movies come in, like having Tobey Maguire, having Andrew Garfield, and all these old villains. You think it was just a big gimmick, but um, I do think they kind of learned from Spider-Verse to have
Yeah.
the other Spider-Man teach the younger one what it means to be. And I think it worked again. Even if they just did it, I feel like it still worked.
Yeah. No, like going into it, I was expecting it to just be fan service because it was, so many characters from the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, they pulled it off. Like I wasn't expecting to be more impacted by Tom Holland's progress than I was. When I came out of it, I was thinking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man and his progression. That was like the first thing in my mind. And then it was like, oh, and then Toby and Andrew were awesome too. So I think they
Yeah.
really nailed like, it's still a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, but we have these awesome other things that just help it. Um, like you said, I think there were a few things that I don't like about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love the whole like spell that Doctor Strange didn't explain to him before he did it.
Yeah.
um, and then another part I did not like was Peter's like, I'm gonna take 5 supervillains through New York City to Happy's apartment and like hope that nobody does anything. Like, uh,
How awesome was that though, to see all of those guys like put in an apartment building together and like just stuck there. I thought it was just so funny.
no,
Um,
like it was great once they got there. I just felt like it was kind of lazy the way it happened. I don't know.
I can't remember how they got there. It was,
Peter Aunt May drives them in the feast truck.
oh really? Oh, that's right. That's right. Lizard's still in the back. Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah,
get out. That's right. Um, I love the turn of Willem Dafoe in that scene
yeah,
when he becomes like full on Spider-Man's Joker.
yeah.
That was great.
That like
And
it was so good.
he's the he's the perfect character to make Spider-Man realize what like the worst that could happen by like
Yeah,
he kills Aunt May, and and that he was going to kill Green Goblin in the end, and Tobey Maguire is the one that stops him from putting a glider through him. I felt like
yeah,
all those things really just worked well. I don't think you even have needed to watch like Tobey Maguire's or Andrew Garfield's movies to still like get what's happening, even if
yeah,
they have references. Um, I still think it really works on its own.
yeah, yeah, totally. But I think it's even that much better having known or having seen those
Mm-hmm.
other ones. Like for me, when Andrew caught MJ, just his acting there, I
Yeah,
thought was so good. Like
it was.
that was such a cool moment to finally, see a little bit of a just some solace for that character because he kind of ended in this horrible place and then his movies were over. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah, I
for me,
agree.
that
He's
was
good,
cool.
and I
Yeah.
think both of them were maybe the best they've ever been as Spider-Man in this movie.
Yeah. Which I was surprised at. Like they both really just kind of went back into their own version of Peter Parker, but like you said, the best they've ever done it. Like Toby was like kind of awkward but like lovable. And Andrew was just like very quippy but like just a cool guy. I don't know. Like it was
Cool
just
guy, and kind of just knew what this. He kind of had like the view of the biggest impact of loss, where
yeah,
said that he was not pulling his punches anymore.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was all really smart. And then they made Tobey Maguire a youth pastor because to me, those older movies where it's very like 60s,
Uh-huh.
where
Yeah.
they're being so kind of fake in their way they talk. So they took that away from him, but they made him a youth pastor kind of thing, which I
Uh-huh.
appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and all the moments between the three Spider-Man, like they all had amazing chemistry, which I was surprised that it was that good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like Andrew and Toby, the back thing, that was so
No.
good.
Yeah, that was good. And then
Um,
them swinging across the Statue of Liberty together and like swinging off of each other, and
oh,
then
so
Tom
good.
Holland having to tell them how to be a team because they didn't have a
Right.
team. I liked all that stuff.
Yeah, it was so good. Like I was really worried that they'd just be in it at the very end, be like a 2-minute cameo. But they were in it for like a good chunk. They had enough scenes to where it was satisfying. I got chills when they were all swinging together. That was a sweet
Hmm.
shot. It was just like it was fan service, but the story also was on a really high level that it worked. I don't
Right.
know.
It was like Zack Spider-Man story that you would want to see, where like it wasn't as fluffy as the other two,
Mhm.
and it had more impact. I still prefer the other two. I don't know why. I think it's because it's just a little less hectic and
Mhm.
crazy. Um, but and I like a focused villain a little bit more.
Yeah.
Green Goblin was probably the most focused of the group. Yeah, and Jamie Foxx was better. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't track with me with him coming in. He feels like an entirely different character.
Yeah, he did.
But I'd prefer that than him being that other guy.
I agree. Like somehow he doesn't have a bald spot anymore or a comb over.
Yeah. Well, he was totally blue in the other, and then he just comes back and he's gone, not blue anymore.
Yeah.
And but they did show when he fell in the electric eels, it fixed his teeth, so maybe
Right.
it fixed his hair.
I also loved how they kind of poked fun at stuff like, he's like, yeah, I fell into a vat of electric eels.
Yeah.
And like it is really stupid, but they just kind of played into it and just like were able to laugh about stuff. Like I loved when Andrew Garfield talked about the rhino.
Yeah, they mocked that too. Like they know what didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they leaned into what did work. Like I
Yeah.
like Doc Ock. I really liked how he helped at the end.
Hmm.
And yeah, like you said, Green Goblin was the best villain by far. Like he was amazing. And
I
just
think another thing is I kind of wanted, and this is me wanting something instead of like the movie is gonna be that. I wanted all of them to stay and create like a Sinister Six. I didn't want them to be cured. I didn't want them
yeah.
to leave. I wanted them to stay as like Spider-Man villains and not have to do another Doctor Octopus, keep him there and keep him evil. But oh
Yeah.
well.
No, that would have been cool. Um I also it was hard to see Toby and Andrew just go away again. Like I wanted to see
Hmm.
more of them. And I think we will. I hope so.
People really want it. I know every
Yeah.
news site ever is like, they're gonna make this and this and this.
Yeah. They're gonna make Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't know.
Spider-Man 4 and Gwen Stacy Spider-Gwen movie, and what else did I see? Can't remember.
Yeah. Like if they do a completely new script and do Amazing Spider-Man 3, I would be down.
Me too.
But
Um, I'm a little hesitant. Is like I still see what Sony makes when they're on their own with
yeah,
Venom, and
yeah.
nah.
Morbius.
And I don't know how about Morbius, if it's going to be good or not. I don't have high expectations.
It looks
It,
bad to me.
yeah, it looks like they have a weird I like with their universe movies, they have to make everything a blue tone and like
Yeah.
dark, and
Uh-huh.
it all looks the same. And Morbius looks like if you put Venom and swapped him out, you wouldn't even know it was a different movie.
It's true. Well, it's very like Amazing Spider-Man. That was the same kind of
Hmm.
like, yeah, like the blues and darker
Really
color,
dark. Yeah,
which I bet they will have Andrew in the next Venom movie. I could see that.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Oh yeah, Matt Murdock cameo.
That one I have a issue with. I feel
You
like it was
do?
pointless. I was like, why? Why was
Yeah.
that there? Um,
Be- because he forgot him, or just
yeah, because they never mentioned him again. He just showed up as a lawyer for a minute, and then everybody forgot who Peter Parker was. So what was the point except to have people that know Daredevil go ooh?
I mean,
And
I definitely went ooh.
yeah, well that's fine. I just felt like there needed to be a reason for him to be there. But then I came up with my own headcanon of, oh, if Peter knows who he is and saw him catch a brick, then him and Daredevil can cross paths and like know each other. Daredevil doesn't have to know it's Peter Parker, but he still
Yeah,
knows Spider-Man exists. So, and he could know it's Matt Murdock. Um, so it does open a door for like a potential like crossover to,
yeah,
and then hopefully that's a good enough reason to keep him in the MCU and not take him out to Sony, so they can do a Daredevil Spider-Man movie.
yeah. That's what I hope to see, a Daredevil Spidey crossover, like you said. And I think that
Hmm.
might be why he was in it, to kind of just like see the two characters together. And then if they do cross paths in the next one, it won't be just out of like, it is still out of nowhere, I guess, but it's, the audience at least has seen it and kind of is more comfortable with that
They
idea.
know at least Peter knows who he is.
Right.
Yeah,
So that, honestly, that's what I want to see the most in the next Spider-Man is Daredevil and Spidey.
and
So
Kingpin.
yes, fingers crossed. But um yeah, definitely went out with a bang, Marvel. Uh
Yeah,
this year. Spider-Man definitely had flaws, but for me it was so much fun and it was so meaningful as well. So great movie.
yeah. For me, not liking it or just being hesitant at first, it became my number one.
That was a ton of fun to just go through it. Thanks so much, Mark, for joining me. Again, I hope in the future we can do more videos. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Thank you so much for giving this video a watch. If you made it this far, I really appreciate that. It was so much fun just discussing the MCU of 2021, and honestly, there were so many highs from this year, so excited for the future of the MCU. Let me know in the comments, what are you most excited for 2022, and what were your rankings for this year? Again, I really would appreciate if you like the video, if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for future content. So thanks again and have a great day or night.